So the story about crack being found in the White House is actually real. I kept seeing a trend on Twitter, and I assumed it was some kind of joke. You know, obviously, oh yeah, the president's son is a crack addict. We're gonna make jokes about crack in the White House, crack house. No, apparently that actually happened, and it's coming directly from the Secret Service. And they're saying, "Oh, we don't know where this could have came from. It's probably some tourist who was just walking through, happened to, they just had some crack that was dribbling out of their pocket and landed somewhere. It was simple mistake. Everyone's made it. Who hasn't spilled some of their crack in the White House when they've been on a tour before? It's embarrassing, but it happens." And so, we're no hard feelings against the tourist who might have left this. No mention of the possibility that the president's crack addict son may be behind this strange occurrence. I'm sure it's not the first time that crack has passed through the White House, or that cocaine of some sort has passed through the White House. Probably is the first time that it's been cracked. Now, they didn't confirm that it's crack, but I'm just going to assume that because this is Hunter we're talking about. Most politicians are classy enough to use, real, the powdery stuff, not the little crack rocks that the CIA pushed to try and destroy minority communities in this country and fund their war against, was it the Sandinistas? Is that what crack was about? But anyway, I guess it's just a coincidence that the crack materialized right before Hunter Biden publicly appeared at the White House. Could it have been that he was there maybe, just a little earlier and happened to drop his crack there? And the Secret Service unfortunately found his stash because, he was just, he was too wired to realize that he had left the goods. And so poor Hunter probably had to go out that night and procure some more material to get his fix. Now this comes less than a week after he's settled a child support dispute with his baby mama back in Arkansas, who I didn't realize that he had actually done a paternity test, and that this child of his was actually confirmed to be a Biden. And I guess as a part of the settlement, the child will not get to bear the Biden name, which is kind of sad. Why is it that a little girl should be denied her father's name? I don't understand how a court can do that. I would think that, if the mother wants her daughter to have the same name as her father, that she should be able to do that. And I think in this settlement, Hunter has actually ripped off his poor child and the baby mama, because he agreed to give them as the settlement some of his paintings, which, as we know, go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But for those of you who understand how these things work, Hunter Biden paintings don't sell for a high price because Hunter Biden is such a great artist. They sell because people want to have a way to give money, large amounts of money, to Hunter Biden to buy influence with his father. And so the paintings are just a way of laundering money. The paintings themselves have no real value. And in the hands of someone who is not Hunter Biden, or not a influential member of the Biden family who can directly influence the president, these paintings will be worthless. His daughter's going to have a stack of Hunter Biden originals instead of cash child support or the Biden family name. Both, two things that will be of tangible value, that could take her pretty far in life. Instead, she'll be stuck with these worthless paintings that she'll never be able to sell. They'll be worth something to, like, history collectors who are interested in money laundering and presidential corruption, but they won't have any value as art. They're not going to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's ridiculous. Maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a piece. 30 years from now, someone might pay that just for the novelty value of a Hunter Biden painting. But let's be honest, 30 years from now, who's going to remember Hunter Biden? Nobody. People hardly know who Hunter is now. Joe Biden will be an inconsequential president. Would anybody care if you had a painting that was by like Harry Truman's son? No, I don't think anyone would notice. So this is a ridiculous Travis mockery that is being perpetuated. And I really, my heart goes out to the poor child who will never get to know her father. But in all honesty, she's probably better off not knowing her father. I mean, look at a similar guy like Charlie Sheen. His daughter, the second she turned 18, what'd she do? She joined OnlyFans. So maybe this girl is going to have a chance if she grows up not around Hunter, who, need I remind you, had his own Pornhub account in which he posted videos of himself engaging in unholy conduct with more than one woman. Now, what's interesting is that I can't tell. Is the Hunter stuff being allowed to leak out? Is this embarrassing stuff being allowed to trickle into the zeitgeist because they want to take out Biden before 2024? I mean, there's an argument to be made there, but as soon as we got the sweetheart deal where he got all of these crimes that could have landed him, in prison for decades, which would have prompted Joe Biden to give him a pardon. As soon as that stuff was all resolved and neatly tidied up, to me, that signaled that they're going to keep Biden around through 2024 and that he's not going to be just pushed aside. The easy way that they could have gotten rid of Biden is Hunter is looking at decades in prison, perhaps the rest of his life in prison, at least 30 years for his tax crimes, which was certainly possible given the circumstances, evading millions of dollars in taxes. An ordinary person, if they did that, they would never see the outside world again. They'd be gone. I mean, they may as well get the death penalty. It probably would be easier. But in that case, Joe would be forced out of mercy to pardon his son, because he would not just stand by and let his own, his last living child, or his last living son, go away forever. He wouldn't do that. He would pardon him. Hunter would be fine anyway, just like he is now. So Hunter, under no circumstance was Hunter going to spend, was he going to get a prison sentence that one of us would have gotten. That just wasn't going to happen. But if Joe had pardoned him, that could have been a good reason for Joe to step aside and say, you know what, there's too much scandal around my family. It's just not a good idea for me to stick around. I'm just gonna, live out the rest of my days and, try and mend things at home and get things straightened out with my kids so that I can leave this world eventually, when I die, and feel like, I did everything I could to try and mold them into good people. And I think that he would get a lot of sympathy from not only Democrats, but from just people in general if he went out with that kind of a statement. But that's not going to happen now. They swept all the Hunter stuff under the rug, and so that's no longer an excuse for him to step aside. And that was the easiest one. So I think that they plan to keep Joe Biden around through this next election. Maybe they'll swap out vice presidents. I think that's more likely at this point. So then during the second term, they can have Joe Biden step aside and have the new vice president take over. Kamala was already made vice president, but Joe Biden backed himself into a corner in the primary by saying, I'll definitely pick a woman of color. That narrowed things that narrowed things down pretty far. There's not a whole lot of women of color to choose from that would also just be, total lapdogs. It's not like Joe Biden was going to be able to pick someone, who has some charisma like Tulsi, because Tulsi is just not with the program. And he couldn't pick, some conniving and dangerous person like Stacey Abrams, who just, it's hard to imagine anyone being less effective than Kamala Harris. But I think Stacey Abrams might have been the one person who would have been worse in this position. But I think Kamala's worse than they would have anticipated as far as being a charisma black hole. And according to her own staff, who constantly leak negative things about her, she's just not well liked by the people around her. So as a last note, I am still monitoring the situation in Zaporozhye, but nothing has changed. There is still no sign that the Ruskies are going to blow it up, despite the fact that pro-Ukrainian media keeps echoing that point. Even the IAEA has said on now 2 occasions, in both an interview with France 24 and a public press conference, hey, we looked around Zaporozhye. We can't find these bombs you guys are talking about. The place is not rigged to explode. And so some folks in Russia are saying that, Ukraine's going to blow it up tonight, which would be right now, because I think it is the middle of the night over there. So, maybe in a few hours we'll get the news, Zaporozhye blew up, but I'm not seeing it at this point. They're definitely pushing it like something is going to happen. But until then, I just don't have anything to add until something changes. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.